There is a monster in Buddhist art with a throat the width of a needle and a stomach the size of a hill. Everything it swallows turns to fire on the way down. And you know what this is a picture of? Addiction, craving, the hole that can't be filled. There's a well-known book that reads it exactly that way. It won a prize. I believed it too. Here is the part nobody quotes. That reading is the symptom column. Start with the body, because the body is the whole argument. A needle throat, a belly like a hill, water turns to acid in the mouth. Rain lands on them like thrown stones. They feel cold from the sun. Andy Ropeman teaches Buddhist studies at Smith College, and he translated 10 of the oldest surviving stories about these creatures. He calls their bodies inescapable torture chambers. And he says the cruelty is the design, not a flaw in it, the point of it. In 2008, a physician named Gabor Mate published In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts about addiction and the childhood pain underneath it. He'd spent 12 years with people on the worst street in Vancouver. It is not a lazy book. But watch what it does to the picture. It takes the appetite, the part you can see, and makes the appetite the diagnosis. I'm going to give the other thing a name, because it has spent 2,000 years not being looked at, and things that don't get looked at need a name before you can follow them. The closed hand. The appetite is in the result column. The cause column has a different word in it, and the word is boring. Ropeman gives it as matsarya. He translates it as meanness or stinginess, and he says plainly that this is the state of mind that lands you here. Alexander Berzin, teaching the Tibetan presentation of the same material, lists the causes in the same order every time: miserliness, greed, and lack of generosity. Not consuming too much, holding, and not opening. And Berzin splits it in a way I hadn't seen before. Being stingy is refusing to give it to someone else. Being miserly is refusing to spend it on yourself, the money you have and won't touch. The good coat still in its bag, the bottle saved for an occasion that keeps not arriving. His line, the issue isn't with saving, it's with not using. A hungry ghost walks up to a river. To you, it's a river. To them, it's a dry bed. They walk up to a tree loaded with fruit and see a bare stick. The food is there. Something in them stands between them and seeing it. So the punishment isn't scarcity. The punishment is standing in the middle of enough and having it read as nothing. The texts treat these as one thing, a hand that won't open, can't open to take either. And none of this is filed under the afterlife. Berzin's aside is that where an English speaker says somebody's mind is in the gutter, a Buddhist might say your mind is in the hungry ghost world. Present tense. This afternoon, no rebirth required. So how does a word that means withheld end up meaning hungry? That isn't the next part of the story. That is why nobody reaches the cause column at all. The Sanskrit is Preta. Berzin takes it apart, pre to go forth, and ida the past form of to go, one who has gone before, departed. That is the entire word. There is no hunger anywhere in it. Tibet translated it yi-dags. Yi is mind. Dag is tied up, a mind in a knot. Berzin's English for it is desperately clutching ghosts, a name built out of the cause. China translated it egui, hungry ghost. And China had a good reason. China already had a place to put it, the ancestors nobody fed. Leave the offerings off the family altar and the dead go hungry. That is Confucian, that is old, and Preta slid into it almost perfectly. English took the Chinese one. Tibet named the cause, China named the symptom, English inherited the symptom, and then spent about a century diagnosing from it. The closed hand got lucky. It got renamed after the mouth. And there's a reason nobody went back and checked. Ropeman says these creatures are an embarrassment to modern Buddhists who prefer their Buddhism rational and empirical. The stories he translates are from the 2nd to 4th century. And the title he gave his book is Bringing Hungry Ghosts Out of Hiding. Nobody hid them on purpose. They were just easier to leave in a drawer. And I would leave it there as an interesting error. Except Bear Zinn, describing who ends up in this state, mentions almost in passing that some of them are excellent at debate. They argue well, they write well, they spell correctly. It helped them nothing. In the life before, they collected what they knew and never used any of it, never taught it, never handed it to anyone, never let one piece of it change one decision. They stacked it. 400 saved articles, the courses you bought, the tabs. A tradition that had no idea the internet was coming worked out the failure mode anyway, and filed those people with the misers. Same cause, same world, because it decided early that hoarding is hoarding, and the thing you hoard is a detail. This isn't a warning about a future life. The closed hand has been billing you the whole time. Every good thing you were handed and didn't open, every idea you saved instead of spent. That bill is not coming. It has been coming out for years. And if you just thought of somebody, send them this. The story was always told out loud to somebody who had food that day. But before you take that personally, look at who was standing in the room when these stories were told. They weren't told to poor people. Monks and nuns carried them on the begging round, which means the audience was whoever answered the door, whoever had food. Rote man, who read the whole collection, says the target was the merchant class. Comfortable people, people doing fine. The specific worry, he says, was surplus that never went anywhere. There's an illustrated Thai manuscript where one of these ghosts drags an enormous swollen sack over his shoulder, carried like a purse. The note attached says this is what waits for officials who squeeze the peasants. So the closed hand isn't the hand of the man at the bottom. It belongs to the person who answered the door. It was drawn for the full cupboard, and told by people who ate only what they were given. It pointed up. And we have spent about 100 years turning it around, until it points at whoever is already on the floor. Which is why the strangest practice in this whole system finally makes sense. There's a Tibetan custom where, after everyone has eaten, a plate goes outside for the hungry ghosts, and the rule is that it has to be leftovers. Small, poor, deliberately not the good food. That reads cruel until you find out why. They can't perceive anything good. Offer one of them something excellent and it isn't there for them, blank plate, dry river, bare stick. So the tradition stopped trying to hand them the best of it, and started offering the only thing that would register at all. Now hold that as a description of a person, rather than a spirit. Somebody was handed something good this year, and could not see it. I don't think the useful question is what you're hungry for. Everyone knows that answer, and it hasn't helped anybody yet. The question these texts are asking is duller and worse. What are you holding? There's one more of these. A man is hit by an arrow, and then reaches for the second one himself, and the texts are very specific about what he gets paid for it. Same hand, different grip. That's next.